Perfect. All right. Well, everybody, to the millions out there watching us on Reconciled Live, we have a very special guest today. We have Katie Thomas. Katie, it is smack dab in the middle of summer. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So you're in Kansas City right now? Is that right?
Oh yeah, hot, humid.
I was gonna
We're on
say
the
it must be pretty
beach.
hot. No beach. It's true. We don't have one either in Arizona. But Michael just came back from Vermont and he was welcome. I think today is day 20. We're going to be over 110 here. So day 20 in a row. Yeah. And I think we're supposed to be like 117, 118 for the next 5 or 6 days. So
Oh
Kate,
my gosh.
escape the humidity. Come on out. It's beautiful. We're just hiding in our air conditioned homes. So that is awesome. So everyone doing okay? Getting through summer?
Oh yeah. I feel like there's just a lot of travel. I know Michael, he's everywhere, but lots of travel and then yeah, a couple vacations, which are always nice. I feel like though as a business owner, vacations still kind of mix in with work, but it's nice to
Mhm.
be able to like work on the road and just be flexible.
Where
That's
was your
awesome.
vacation to, Katie?
So one to South Dakota. We're getting ready to go to the lake. If anyone's familiar with the Missouri area, Table Rock Lake, we're getting ready to go there.
Okay.
And then headed 2 weeks to a conference in Dallas. So that'll also be fun. A lot to travel.
Does that
What's the
count as
conference in
vacation? Yeah.
what's the conference in Dallas?
Habu, you heard of
Habu.
that one?
No, what is that?
Highest and best use. It's put on by Engineered Advisory.
Okay, interesting. That's really really great.
Well,
Well,
that doesn't sound like vacation either, does it, Michael? She's going to a conference. Come.
I find vacations like, or I find conferences, they might as well be a vacation. They're
yeah.
so fun. Usually you see like your best friends there. I mean, what more could you want? And it's a business expense. Like,
Oh,
best of both worlds.
yes. There you go.
Well,
Well,
let me.
perfect.
I want to do a quick introduction to Katie because I got the chance to finally meet Katie in April when I hosted like 40 plus accounting firm owners and accounting industry leaders in Scottsdale, Arizona for a get together post tax season. And Katie's somebody that I had seen online for a few years. I felt like she started doing post as a teenager. It felt like I still feel like she looks like a teenager. So I was like, who's this teenager posting about accounting? What does she know? But I was conveniently and quickly surprised by the reach she had in such a short time frame and at such a young age, and also the influence she was able to have. And frankly, she's a real CPA, which I cannot claim to have that credential. So she also was able to get that CPA credential probably by the time she was like 20 years old or something. But she's definitely been a surprising influencer in the space, been able to also advise and possibly impact a lot of firm owners across the industry. She's constantly speaking at different industry events, and you can see her and her husband, and now their little cute child online as well as different industry events. And she got a chance to meet her and her husband as they came over to Scottsdale to hang out with me and these other firm owners. And the amount of knowledge and also just the positivity she expresses, the genuine desire to get to know people, impact people, really contribute to their firm growth was definitely welcomed. And so definitely a big fan now. She definitely won me over just, simply through her post, but also just meeting her in person and be able to see the genuine nature of her and how she's really not assuming anything about anybody or the industry, but really coming in and trying to provide value. So, Katie, just thank you for taking the time to come on our show and taking the time to share with our audience about your story, your entrepreneur journey, and I'll let Justin kind of jump in and do his magic.
Well, thanks, Michael. I appreciate the kind words and excited, like I said, to be here and share anything I can with your audience and try to provide as much value as possible.
Well, I think it's going to be fun. And so we are going to totally get into what's going on right now. But we always like to sort of dig into your past and see what brought you to where you are. And so, first of all, We got Katie. She's here, CPA, took that test, but let's go back in the time machine and let's talk about where did you grow up? Sort of, what were you into when you were younger? Did you always want to be an accountant? But let's sort of just start out like, where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up in Kansas City, and I was one of those kids that was like obsessed with figuring out how to make money and run little businesses as a child. So I would do like gardening for my neighbors. I was big into horseback riding. So from the time I was 12, I was getting horseback riding lessons. It was anything I could do, like dog sitting, that could help, solve a problem and make some money. So whenever people say like, oh, there are natural born entrepreneurs, I feel like I was one of those people, and I always knew I wanted to go into business, which I also grew up with a dad that ran a small business. So that was probably a big influence in my life, and also how I got involved in marketing from a young age. So, I was using Microsoft Publisher to create websites at 9 years old, do little things, because just whenever you look at skill sets, like growing up, computers were there and I could already do things that my parents couldn't do at that time. So I got into marketing really young, and by 15, 16, I'm doing Google Ads, I'm doing some SEO work, I'm making cold calls for the small business. So that really got me interested in doing something in business. And so whenever I went to go to college, I knew that I wanted to do hopefully something like running a business someday, but I wasn't sure exactly what that would be. And accounting is the language of business. So I know a couple of people were like, you know what? What about accounting? And I took my first accounting class, my first semester of college, and I was like, wow, accounting's fun. Now looking back on it, I know that saying accounting's fun probably sounds crazy. However, I liked the whole process of everything equals one another. But that being said, even as I was going throughout my classes, I was like, while I like accounting, I know that there's job stability in accounting. I don't really picture myself being an accountant. So that was kind of this weird like pull. Okay, I'm in this industry, I know that there's opportunity, but what do I do? And as you're going throughout school, you get your undergraduate, and then it's like, well, you might as well get your CPA exam. And I was super fortunate that the CPA exam, it came really natural to me. The classes again also came natural, and so I thought, okay, why not just get my master's, take the exam, and then I'll go ahead and put in my time to get that experience of work. And meanwhile, I can figure out like exactly where I want to take this. So while I was working at one of the big four companies, this is where I was like, hey, there's an opportunity to help accountants. I have this Rolodex of skills in marketing. And I see even at the big four, as I'm talking to managers, senior managers, and even partners, they don't necessarily have the skill set to go out and do business development or marketing. So, what does that mean for all of these smaller firms out there? If big four people aren't equipped with those skills, maybe there's a huge gap also in these smaller firms. And so, when I left, I remember I was like, I'm just going to try this, and I'm just going to see, like, can I go out and help some of these smaller firms? And worst case scenario, there's going to be more jobs at an accounting firm that I can jump back into. Luckily, things worked out. And now it's so lucky because I love what I do. I'm obsessed with the accounting industry and accountants. And I'm really happy that I went through and got my CPA license and I'm part of this industry, but I certainly don't want to be doing traditional accounting or tax work.
So that's super interesting. So from like before high school, you were into, the sales you were sort of like a Swiss Army knife as far as business is concerned. You were marketing, you were sales calling, you were, into the numbers, things like that. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. And I remember that honestly, I think one of the best experiences I got was doing a bunch of cold calls and just being told no and learning that every single no really gets you closer to a yes, and it's not personal. And I think that skill set really carried over into what I do today, because if you're running a business or you're in business development or you're in sales, Justin, as I'm sure you experience, like you get beat up. And if you are going to let one no just continue and derail you from what you're doing, you're not going to be able to keep going. So I feel like more accountants, they need to like go through some sales training just to build some thicker skin.
Well, and it's funny too. You bring up the no. Like I've been in sales for insurance, for cloud accounting, for just about everything, furniture. And it's funny because sometimes you feel like if you just tell me no, I'll know to move on, and we can both
Yeah,
sort of save some time, right? But instead, it's like, well, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But what you said is right. Is listen, if I have to get 10 no's to a yes, my feelings aren't hurt. Just tell me no, and I'll know I can check a box to get to my eighth no, and we'll move a little bit closer to hearing that yes. So if you're listening right now and you have a salesperson that's annoying you, and the answer is no, just tell them
let
no.
them.
Let them go.
Yeah, and it is funny. Once I love what you said, Katie. There, you just have to get used to hearing no, and like you said, it's not personal. And once you get over that hump, you realize, oh, hearing a no is fine. like hearing no is actually that's actually a good thing. It's fine to hear no's, and it's actually good to get to that no very quickly or get to the yes very quickly. And I tell our team, until you hear an absolute, like literally, it's got to be the most absolute no. There's always a chance there. There's always a maybe there, and you can work that. And so we've had at Reconciled, we've had people say no or not yet. And so I almost hear not yet every single time. It's just not the right time when they say no. And then we'll follow up in 6 months, and you'll be surprised how many people say, actually, I want to talk now. I know I said no. I want to talk now. And it is a matter of consistency, being friendly, follow up. And I'm sure you learned that journey on the way is when you're generally just a nice person, even through the no's, people still want to talk to you and they want to get to know you and hear about you. And that's still an opportunity to go, well, hey, you're a no now, but can I stay in touch with you? And also, do you have anybody else you think that would be a good fit? Right? Do you know anybody that would say possibly a yes or want to have a conversation? And so don't waste, it's almost like don't waste a good no, right? Don't waste that opportunity on the no. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in someone's pipeline of maybe laters, there is so much value there, not just money, but like people that you can serve, whether it's, hey, they're ready now, or like you said, um, who do you know that maybe I could help? That's huge.
Yeah, well, and I think too, it's like we're sort of taught, like, hey, don't say, oh, there we go, Michael, look at that. So Michael's posted some up. That's the part learning to get past the no. That's the big, and I think that's like an important part of life as well as not just sales. Like, it's all right. No's okay. Like, no doesn't mean, you're a bad person, or it just means no, or maybe later, or it could mean a bunch of things. So, I want to get a little bit more into, so you're from Kansas City, or you're still located in Kansas City. You went to Kansas University, is that right?
I did, though, live in Reno, Nevada, of all places, for about 2
Ooh.
years, and I loved my time there. So, I had a great client out there, and I was traveling back and forth some, and at the time, I didn't have a kid. I was newly married, and my husband and I, we loved the area, so we thought, "Why not go out, live by Tahoe?"
Hmm.
We work remotely, enjoy the scenery out there, and we had a lot of fun, made some good friends, but ultimately, our families are both in Kansas City, and so we decided to move back.
Okay.
Does Reno, Nevada? You don't hear about Reno, so what does Reno, Nevada have to offer? Because you do hear about Tahoe, but a lot
Yeah.
of people might not know about Reno itself, right, in the community. And so, what was the attraction besides the client? What was the other attraction to that area?
Yeah, so it was really Tahoe being out there. It's, 25-minute drive to Tahoe. It's just the city that's by it, and then it's like you've got mountains, you've
Yeah.
got lakes, you've really got everything, and you're right by California, so we're 30 minutes to go to California, you're 3.5 hours to San Francisco. It's like a hidden gem out there, honestly.
So it wasn't like a favorite casino in Reno that you had that you loved visiting.
No. No favorite casino out there.
Well, yeah, it's like Reno is like a suburb of Tahoe. So we have family who lives in Reno. It's wonderful. Excuse me. I'm sorry. So you went to Kansas. You're going to Kansas. You're like valedictorian, all star coming into high school. You go to Kansas. Are you dead set on getting into accounting at Kansas, or is there like maybe something else you want to explore, a business degree, or are you like laser focused?
I came in with I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I tried the accounting class simply because you, after asking some people that I admired, they're like, "Hey, accounting is a good degree." And if
Hmm.
you like numbers, I always liked math in high school. I thought, okay, well, I'll try this. And I really did not have a plan of if I'm going to actually stick with accounting, if I might do something totally different. But I like the thought of, okay, if I do accounting, I can always get a job. I feel like I'm someone who I love structure that I create. And so the thought was, well, accounting seems like you can apply it to a lot of things and it gives you that structure where you can always like have a 9 to 5 if you want it, but you could also go out and be creative if you wanted and do something else like run a business. And I thought, hey, that'll give you some credibility. But no, I didn't really have a plan.
Well, so what? And so we know that, like, like I love the phrase that accounting is the language of business, because it totally is. And so I think I like the two follow ups are I'm on this restream with two geniuses as far as math is concerned. I mean, are all accountants drawn to math? Because I feel like I'm so not good at math, and so like is that
I think it's
one
more
thing?
like numbers. I think it's just
So
more
okay.
numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like too, it's like
Mhm.
it's a different kind of math. I would never want to go be like a mathematician, but it's kind of like a Sudoku puzzle where everything fits together and it's fun because you can balance things out. That's what I liked. It was like you're gonna get an answer.
Sudoku's scary to me. Maybe I can hire you, Katie, on the side to help me with some Sudoku puzzles. So I like numbers, I like stats, but I always thought like, dude, math is killing me. It's so scary. But I was friends with Michael growing up, and he never helped me. So I don't know what's up with that.
Really, Michael,
Justin,
you would
I
not.
helped
He
you
was.
push that car around your block. So that's what I helped you with.
It's true. I sort of made Michael help me with other things besides accounting and math. So I probably could have used Michael's time more wisely. So okay, so you're at Kansas. You're getting your degree, you're getting your accounting degree. What comes after your bachelor's at Kansas?
So after my bachelor's, I went into the master's program there. And well, in between, so I've always been a little bit of someone who like gets told this is going to take this long. And I'm like, well, what if I did it and made it quicker? Like, I am naturally not a very patient person. So when someone said, you're going to spend 4 years in undergrad, I thought, what if I did it in 2.5 years? So I did it in 2.5 years. And then I did an internship that second semester with one of the big four. And the following year, I went and did my master's. And then over the summer, you could take all the CPA exams. So I took my CPA exam and then started that following fall at one of the big four.
Let's talk about how daunting the CPA exam is. I feel everyone talks about. I've taken some pretty large. I've taken an MCAT when I was younger. Like I've taken, the insurance exams. I've taken a lot of like standardized tests. Let's talk about how scary and daunting the CPA exam is.
So I got really lucky when I took it that I was just taking the summer to take it. I wasn't also, going to school in college, or going to school. I wasn't like trying to go to college. I wasn't also working. And so it was my main focus where I could like wake up, study, and then have the evening to do what I wanted. I can see though where it's a lot if you're trying to balance like a job or like I said, going to school on the side. I do think though the exam, I have a lot of thoughts about the exam. So I don't know how far you want to go down a rabbit hole.
Well,
But
let's start down the rabbit hole, and then if we need to eject, we will. But I'm curious about it.
so I think if you're good at learning concepts, the exam comes easier because there's a lot of different like topics and they throw out multiple choice questions. And I think a lot of people get caught up in like trying to memorize all those questions. But really, if you focus on like understanding like what those questions are asking, like the why behind them, then there's a lot less you have to memorize because if you actually understand it, then you can apply it to say this, you can apply this concept to 20 things versus being like, I need to memorize these 20 questions and I'm struggling to do so. So I just really tried to think about rather than like, I'm going to memorize all these questions, I'm going to look at the question and be like, why is the answer right? Understand the concept. And then I found it like I could apply it to a lot more things.
So it definitely sounds like you smoked that exam. You just made it, you made light work of your CPA exam.
Well, I took my own process and it did work.
Mhm.
It worked out. And so I'm glad it's done and it's behind me. It's long, but it worked out and I'm glad I did it. It's worth it. If anyone's thinking about taking it, I absolutely think it's worth it to go ahead and just get those credentials. No one can take it away from you. Assuming you keep up to date on CPE and don't get into trouble.
Stop getting in trouble, all you CPAs out there. I know you guys are wild.
Well, I say wild bunch.
It's a wild bunch. Okay, so then you get your master's at KU, right?
Yep.
So right after KU, you're done with your, Rock Chalk Jayhawk is over, and you're moving on. When you're finishing up there, what are you thinking? Like, do you have a path you want to take? Are you, thinking about where you want to work? Or are you just thinking about, okay, I want to get out there? Or are you making your own content at this point? What's going on for you?
Yeah. So when I graduated from KU, the summer after is when I took the exam and I had a job lined up to start at Ernst & Young after. So my thought process when I graduated was like, okay, let's get the exam done or the exams, the various tests, and then hopefully by the time I start with Ernst & Young, they're all passed. And I remember once I actually started at Ernst & Young, that's whenever it hit me. I was like, okay, for once in my life, there's not this plan laid out in front of me where I can just check a box and have, okay, I got to take this class and then this class and pass this test. And suddenly it was like, it's up to you to make your life what you want it. Like, sure, you had some flexibility back in college, but like, really, until then, you're given this basically syllabus to follow up for your life. And now it's like, it was a really good realization to be like, if you want something better for yourself, if you want to do something different, if you're not, feeling like this is going to be fulfilling, then no one's going to come and give you a new syllabus. Like, you've got to write your own.
That's a really great way to put it. There's like you graduate and no one says, hey, it's syllabus day the next day. Like, everyone come get your syllabus for the rest 40 years of your life. It's sort of like, well, here it is, and that's something really important. I think that's important about what you do now too, because you're sort of providing people like, I mean, I was really fortunate to grow up around Michael, who was sort of in these accounting spaces, but was also a good marketer and was also like tremendous at connecting with people. And I think it's not just the accounting or CPA space or any space. When you leave college, networking is way different. Getting connected with people is totally different because, you're not going to like Maloney's, at 1 a.m. to be like, hey, what do you do? This is like, now you're sort of connecting under the guise of just business. And no one ever, it's like, that's a hard thing to do.
Right, and there's no
So,
playbook. There's no playbook
yeah.
rewritten for you. There's no hey, come to the career fair at the college,
Yeah.
right? There's all these things still set up for you at college, and that aren't necessarily the greatest, but they still don't represent what real life is gonna really be like, which is basically pave your own path, choose your own adventure, and that's a
Yeah.
very scary journey especially for most people in the accounting profession who are mostly introverts. There's a lot of introverts that in the accounting profession, their idea of going to accounting is, well, I don't want to do sales and marketing, so I'm going to go into accounting, right? And so it's a very different, it's rare to meet somebody in the accounting profession who's just naturally a networker, go-getter, out there, a marketer. And so obviously that's really unique to you, Katie, who really, you really enjoyed and loved marketing and sales. You loved connecting and meeting people. And then you decide to study accounting, even get your CPA. So it's a unique skill set mix that you kind of enter the real world with. But as you both said, it's kind of a scary choose your own adventure path that isn't really rewritten for you. The playbook's not there.
Yeah, and I know so as I was like working and recognizing like, hey, I see these partners, I see what they're doing. This is just not me. It's not my personality to, climb this corporate ladder. And like I said, I didn't see myself even when I went into accounting doing accounting long term. I did not know like when the exit would be. But whenever I like really got those feelings, I remember I talked to one of the partners there and I said, hey, is there a spot for me in BD? And basically they like laughed. They were like, you've got to, come up the ranks. Like, no, there was no option there. And so then I felt like even more confused at the time, like, okay, I really just like don't belong here. But everyone's telling me, hey, you should stay till you're manager, or, you got to put in your time to make sure that you get the next job. And, make basically your time that you spent in public. That was probably pretty exhausting and draining. Like, you should make it worth it. So you might as well stick it out. But then on the flip side, I was like, stick it out for what? Like, to get another accounting job that I don't want.
Exactly.
So
They missed out. They missed out on you, Katie. I can't believe that's what they told you. They just totally missed out on you.
well, I think it's their structure that they have in place. Like a lot of times in those bigger firms, they don't get a lot of say. So whether or not what they thought was possible, it's like they're held to a rule book.
Yeah. Well, also they sort of they went through their process they had to go through to climb the ladder, and they're like, well, no, you don't get to do that. You have to do this.
Right,
You have to do what I did. That's how this works, okay?
right, right. Yeah,
And that's pervasive through all of corporate culture. Like, no, you do what I did, and that's sort of not the space we're in right now. It can be completely different.
right. Yeah. So then continuing on the journey, right whenever I decided, okay, I'm going to leave, I'm going to try this. I couldn't find anyone doing marketing for just accounting firms whenever I went online and looked. Right whenever I left, 2 weeks later, we found out my husband, he was going to have to get a big back surgery that he would get a 14 disc spinal fusion. He had undiagnosed scoliosis. Long story short, like he's going to have to be out of work for who knows how long. And so at that point, I was like, well, I left and thought we'll have, my husband, he's working, he's got a really stable job. But then knowing he was going to be out of work, I think that like pushed me into momentum where sometimes if your back's a little bit against the wall, you're like, I'm going to figure this out. And so it was like, ready, set, go.
Yeah, nothing like a little bit of adversity to sort of kickstart a great thing, right? That's kind of everyone's superpower is adversity. They just don't know it.
Right, right. It was like no more dragging your feet because I think sometimes too, like if you're too comfortable or complacent, or even like if people are bored, that's like the ultimate just killer of momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so husband's about to go through a super intense back surgery. You're floating out there, and now you're Batman with your tool belt of CPA and accounting knowledge and cold calling knowledge and all these things, and you're ready to go out into Gotham and do some damage. So, what's next?
So what was interesting was like, okay, I need to figure out a process of how I can get clients because if you're just starting out, it's like I know that you can do SEO. I know that you can do Google Ads, but a lot of times you have more time than money. And stuff like ads obviously cost money. SEO takes a while. And at that time, like I didn't know a lot of people in my industry. And so I was like, okay, I got to figure out a way that I can start finding people. And so what I came up with was this process, and basically it's one that we use now with firm owners as well, where it's called the 4 C's. And what you do is you choose one platform. For me, I started on LinkedIn, and on that platform, you're going to go all in on it. So you're going to decide like what's your focus, who are you helping. You're going to just optimize your profile to speak to that one person. Then you're going to go out and you're going to connect with 20 new people every single day. And you're going to actually have real conversations. So you're going to choose your platform, connect, converse. And when I say real conversations, it's not those bots that you're having message you asking if you want an appointment. You're actually going to like get to know people. And if your profile is optimized, they understand what you do and how you help. So you don't need to be pitching them on your services. And then finally, you create content. And so a lot of people on social media, they think if I just put out content, that's going to be enough. But really, if you're not actually like going out and connecting with people and having real conversations with them, no one's going to see your content. And so your content can't do anything for you. So the content comes last. And so social media is really how I started building up that network and getting to know firm owners, what their problems were. And it was kind of funny how this process that I discovered that really helped me grow my firm. Now, I've been able to help a lot of firms implement the same process, and it works for them as well.
So what's the 4 C's again? It could kind of clearly.
Okay,
what are the 4 C's?
choose your platform, connect, converse, and create.
5th C, Kate's.
There
That's
you
my last
go.
name. So that's not in the 4 C's, but we could add it in there. So, and it's interesting. So what was your like what is your, at that point in your life, what's your like number one social media platform that you're really going to attack? Like what was hot right then?
So I would say Instagram and Facebook, they were the top platforms. But at the time, I picked LinkedIn because I knew that you could search for like actual firm owners on there, but which was helpful. But the number one reason why I picked it is I was like, you know what? None of my friends, none of my colleagues are on here, and
Only old people.
and so it was like I can be whoever I want to be. I don't have to worry about dealing with judgment or fear, which now over time, like you get over all of that. But to me, it was like, this is my little safe place. I can be whoever I want. And so that's why I picked LinkedIn.
It is one of the few social media places where generally there isn't a lot of nasty conversation.
Right.
Twitter and Facebook have those, all the political conversations, the nasty, like insulting, all stuff. LinkedIn, most people stay away from it because it's funny how almost the whole user base has said, this is a professional space and we're going to be professional. And even when people post, like you'll even see people post occasionally personal things, but it's not common. And and when somebody overdoes the personal stuff, you'll see users say, hey, you should be posting that somewhere else. This is a professional space, which is really, really, really funny. But like bashing and judging each other
Trolling,
generally,
trolling,
the trolling stuff generally does not exist on LinkedIn. Now, I know that one of the things that people are annoyed by is like the constant spamming, they call it, or like the volume of spamming from bots and stuff like that. But honestly, it's still, like you said, it's still like this. It's funny you call it a safe space. I think only like a young millennial or Gen Z would call LinkedIn a safe space, but it's like it is. It's not toxic yet. It's not toxic like some of the other channels can be. But we had a question come up about what you were talking about. How do you engage in real conversations with new connections? So you're new to LinkedIn, right? So you're new. Your friends aren't on it. You basically can connect with like maybe your dad or other people
Right.
that are older than you that are on LinkedIn. How did you start engaging in real conversations with new connections when you were new to it yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think about this in the same way that you engage with people in real life. If you go to a networking event, number one thing you're not going to do is walk up and be like, hey, schedule a time on my calendar like the bots do. It's like, no, you're a human. Ask them about them. Ask them
Mhm.
about what they're working on, what clients they work with. Ask them about what their goals are. Maybe ask them if they're looking, as your network grows, an introduction to somebody. Whenever you ask people questions about them, it's really easy for them to answer that because they know their self, and to just, break the ice. And sometimes you'll even see like a great way to do this is to see that they posted something. And so you could say, like, hey, I started a post about X. I was curious about Y. So there's different things that you can do depending upon the platform. Something like Instagram, maybe they're posting even just pictures about they're showing some pictures of like their family. You could be like, hey, I saw you have 2 kiddos. They look like they're about my kid's age. How old are they? Like, just be a human. And that goes a long way.
I love that. I love that. And I think it forces you to actually get better at asking questions, right? You actually have to get good at it, and you actually have to genuinely. And I think I can tell this about you. You genuinely have to actually be interested in people. Like you actually, because it can't come off inauthentic. It can't come off fake. Like I'm going to ask you about your kids. Okay, once you're done answering, I'm going to go right into my sales pitch. Like that's
Yes.
ridiculous. It's like no, you actually have to be interested in the thing that you're asking about. So don't ask a fake question. Find something you actually are interested in, and then dig. Right? Oh, tell me about your kids. Like, what are they doing? What are they up to? What are you excited about this coming school year with them? And don't just try to jump into the sales pitch or, hey, you want to schedule time together on my calendar? Here's my calendar. It's a
Yeah.
very weird. That'd be a very weird. Like you, I love that example. It'd be a very weird way to engage in person. Why don't we find that weird on LinkedIn as well or on social? It is very odd to do it that way. So yeah, that's a really, really great point.
Right. And I think that where maybe some of this confusion has like become where people think or marketers are selling people that works is it comes from like traditional online advertising where, say, Google, you set up an ad, people click on it, it says you book a call or fill out a form to learn more. But the thing is, if you're searching through Google, if I'm someone saying like I'm searching accounting services, I have an intent, I'm going to look for an accountant. On social media, when you're messaging someone, you have no idea if they have any intent to be searching for an accountant. So, like, it's total disconnect. And they're totally two different approaches with people that are in completely different mindsets. And you need to respect that. The relationship is going to win every single time. Just spamming people, stay away from it. If anyone says you should do it or it works, that's
Well, yeah, it's like I think people get like, hey, we're in the numbers game, right? So if I can ask 175,000 people to book some time on my calendar, it's like, well, like, and going back old school, like, there used to be the relational piece of it, and I think
mm-hmm.
people, because they have at their fingertips, they have so many people who will see this stuff, they don't want to like engage in any depth. But like depth is where the longevity of the relationship, especially in sales and marketing and any relationship, comes, is in the depth of it, not just the surface. Hey, this is what I do. They have to think or know you care, you're interested, and that's why you're offering this to me, because it will help.
Right, right. Especially when you think about something as personal as accounting or tax or advisory. That's a big deal. That's not just me saying, "Oh, I saw this ad to buy some cool new socks online," or, something else I can just add. It's like, no, you're not going to go have a bunch of accountants. Like, you're going to have one accountant. And so, like, that relationship is worth a lot. And it's probably going to take quite a bit of time and effort to develop that.
Yeah, and it's like I always sort of talk about like your business is your baby, right? So it's like, or your health if you don't have a child, and like, and you're handing it to somebody to say, hey, this, I poured myself into this thing. So, and I always say, but remember, the person you're handing it to is like a doctor, like it's professional for them, So it's
Right.
like, hey, it's like, but what you do, Katie, really well is you sort of break, like people will say, hey, you want your surgeon to be really cocky, like you're probably your husband's neurology surgeon or whatever. You want him to be really cocky, right? Because that's what he does. He's really good at it. But I often think that, as CPAs, like you having bedside manner with someone's books and like them handing over their business to you financially is like that's a really tough thing. And if you don't trust them, then it's like, well, yeah, I don't think so. This is not, I'm not interested in filling out a spot for some time on your calendar if I feel like you don't care about anything but the numbers.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, something
Well,
that we can all do better.
yeah. Well, you're pretty good at it. And I think people need, and just marketing as a whole, we need to start getting a little bit deeper with people. And, not everything is like you said, there's a place for surface, right? Like you said, socks or Google ads. Like there's a reason for that. But you do such a good job connecting with people. Is this something like naturally you've always had? Sort of like it's been easy for you to connect, easy for you to talk to people, or is this something that was developed?
That's a really interesting question. And I was actually like, when I think back to young Katie, like first grade, I was really shy. I remember my person sitting next to me, he was like, I will give you a quarter to talk. And I hated the feeling of being shy. And so I remember after that day, I was like, I'm going to count down in my head, literally 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'm going to like raise my hand and ask a question anytime I have a question. And I don't know why at that young age that I just was, like, so determined to, like, beat that shyness, but it was almost like I recognized then, like, when you ask questions, like, you don't have to be shy
Mhm.
because you don't really have to have much to say, you just ask a question. And so that, like, process of, like, becoming not so shy is something I feel like that was skill set I developed then, and then just combine that with my experience, like, even doing sales calls and, cold calls, like, how do you keep someone on the phone? You have to start asking them questions. That's it just translated into how I figured out to make social media work.
Do you still keep in touch with that kid that offered you the quarter?
No, but I owe him a lot of quarters.
What's funny is there are people that I'd love to give a quarter to stop talking, right?
I know.
And so it's funny that he gave you a quarter to talk. Like, I'll give you a quarter to say something, and that inspired you to keep asking questions. That's a great story. And I think that's really, really cool, and a great advice of you don't need to be outgoing or make yourself just good, but get good at asking questions, and you'll get over your shyness. And that's super helpful. That's really, really cool.
Well, and it's to take it full circle, like really marketing is asking questions, right? I mean, like, and to go even further full circle, if that's even possible. You guys are the math people. Uh, you're like that sort of pours into, or that numbers accounting piece you're talking about, where it's a puzzle, right? Well, asking questions is sort of like gaining knowledge to complete the puzzle. Like it sort of connects, and I think that like curiosity is something that I think we're all born with, and some people get it squashed down. Like you said, I mean, and you know what the funny thing is, Katie? You were in first grade and you were nervous about it. There's 28 other kids in that class who had the same fear you did. There was just one smart aleck sitting to your left who's like, "Oh, a quarter." It's like
Right.
everyone feels that fear to ask. Everyone is like, "I don't want to ask." I mean, I battled with it through college. I mean, like I had sort of like a little bit of a learning disability I learned once I got into college. And part of me wonders like how much of it was due to me just not like investing in answers, and
Mhm.
really like you look at people now when they're older, like it's so cool they're curious, you know. And when they're
Yeah.
a kid, they're like, man, they won't stop talking. They're just asking all these questions. So it's important to ask questions. And I think that's what's really cool about like when you really meet someone who's good at marketing or good at anything, the bottom line is they have a curiosity that drives them forward. It's not like, how do we get better? How do we do this? How do we do that? It's not like, this is my plan and I'll implement it until it's done. That's not how it
Right.
works.
Right. Yeah. I mean, whether it's marketing or just your business or your job, it's like you've got to be open to asking questions and better questions. And whether you're stuck or you're on a high right now, it's like if you aren't staying curious, like it's only going to carry you so far.
Yeah, that's really cool, and I can definitely see that. I mean, it takes a lot to, I mean, to go online and to know these things. Like, you don't have any longevity if you can't back up what you're saying, which I think is what's interesting about you. You've had incredible longevity, like, and longevity on the social media platforms is like, if you're around after a year, you've done real damage, because people will, if you're not offering something, like, people will say, no, not interested. So you've done a great job of sort of, planting your flag in an industry where I don't think there's a lot of people who are coming up with creative content. And even, it's not like you're doing crazy thing. Like, by the way, people, I've watched a lot of Katie Thomas over the past few days, and I encourage you to, as well, as I'll watch more in the future. This is really good stuff. It's like little master's courses and whatever she's talking about. So, I mean, how are you doing? Let's get into a little bit about the posts, how you're doing posts, or, the leaders online and things like that. Are you like scripting it out? I know your big thing is, hey, listen, it's not more content, it's better content, right?
Yeah, right. It's better content, and then it's also making sure that you're doing those other things that we talked about, like actually staying focused on one platform. It's fine if you want to repurpose it or, spread out to other platforms over time. But what I find is a lot of times people don't really like focus on one platform. They try to go wide, and then it's just like spray and pray. So like make sure that you really are like putting your efforts into one platform, figure it out, get it to work first, and don't forget that you're actually on there to be social. So like connecting with people, having conversations, engaging with them. And then the content piece, like a lot of people want to focus on that, and it is great. It's super powerful, but like you can't just hide behind content. And so happy to share though about like the content, the process, kind of like how I approach it, whatever you think would be helpful.
Yeah, let's get, I mean, if you're willing to, Michael, don't you think that's a great idea? I mean, there's a lot of people who are
Yeah.
going to be listening and seeing this who need some guidance with this. And I think, you have the proper, qualifications to talk about that. So if you want, let's go and do a little bit of that.
Yeah. So the most important thing is that you do find a process that works for you, and everyone's is going to look a little bit different. But what I found works really well for me, and then I can kind of talk about how we can, how we like do this with clients as well, is for me, it's like I set aside time on my calendar every single month to just go through and like brain dump a bunch of ideas for content. And this might look like, hey, I'm looking at the note that I keep on my phone that I always have running with ideas. Or maybe it's like going out to YouTube and looking at other people's videos, like what comments did people have, like where are there opportunities to like answer questions that I can see other people are asking that aren't being answered in content, like what questions have I got. So like actually just like spending time getting together ideas. And to me, like this is a very creative space. So that's a set time. And then I'm actually going to set aside another set of time to like go through those ideas and decide like which ones am I going to like turn into content pieces. So maybe I'm going to like turn this one into a text post, or this one into a swipe file, or this one into a video. And so actually like creating maybe like the text piece of that. Um, and then another time I'm going to set on my calendar is just to like record all those videos for a month. So I've done this long enough that it's like an hour on my calendar. I can create 10, 15 short form clips, and I can just, like change my clothes in between, something like that, to switch it up pretty fast.
I
And
was going to
from
ask
there,
that because you don't want to have, you don't want to have my striped shirt on for 20 of your videos, right?
right, right. But you can, just change your clothes every few videos. And if you're looking at a calendar view, it just depends how you want to do it. Again, you could get creative and be like, okay, I'm going to film 4 videos, and then I could like stagger them and mix them up with, my striped shirt video. It's not that serious. You can do that if you want. So then we've set aside, our hour and a half for filming. And from there, it's just like, okay, let's now get the pieces to the right people. So get the video sent to the video editor, get any graphics I need made sent to the graphic designer, and then make sure that all of those, like on the team, they're getting reviewed by the appropriate people and then actually distributed by the appropriate people. So my involvement now has been like significantly reduced, where I still like to stay at the front of my content, like coming up with the ideas, having the writing in my own voice, of course, filming. I can't get out of that. But like the actual handoff, that's pretty easy. And so like for other people, if they're thinking like, okay, I don't have time, maybe how could I get some help with this, where they need to make sure they stay involved is one, I think the ideas are super important. Like an agency can help you, like prompt you, ask you questions. Like we do this with a lot of clients, like, you know, again, being curious about them and asking good questions to like pull the content out. But of course, recording has to be you as well. So I think that if if you're like a business owner thinking like should you have someone help you on social media, I think that's a great investment of your time and your resources. But don't just be like, okay, you do my social media, I'm going to stay in the business and not touch it, because otherwise, like, you're the magic piece. Your ideas are like what are going to separate you, and no one can come up with those for you. They could help you co-create them. They could ask you better questions to pull them out. And so just don't try to like, run away from it, because that's whenever we a lot of times have firms come to us and they're like, "Hey, our social media has not worked." And it's like, "Well, how like how involved were you in the content? Like where are your good ideas?" It looks like generic posts from everyone else, and people ultimately connect with and buy from people. They don't buy from brands unless you're Nike, or you're not Nike though. So we need you to stay involved.
How dare you? What do you mean I'm not Nike? What? Katie, this was going so well until you told me I'm not this huge multi-billion-dollar company. Geez, well, I got to really refigure out how I'm doing stuff around here then, because you're right, I'm not Nike. So that is really good insight. That's really cool. Now, we don't have too much time left, but let me tell, like, let's. I looked at Leaders Online. I have a bunch of questions, but I want you to put it in your words. Tell me about Leaders Online. What is Leaders Online for those who don't know? Let's sort of like brief overview what it is, what your part is in it, and what led you there.
Yeah, so at Leaders Online, we specialize in digital marketing for accounting professionals and accounting tech vendors. So, really, anyone that's an accountant or in the accounting space, we can help you. And we focus heavily on social media, but we also do PR, websites, some other forms of content. My role in the day to day is I'm the owner of it, and I love being involved still with a lot of the clients and meeting with them. Not on all the client meetings anymore, but I still like to meet with them, check in, see how things are going, and make sure that they're happy and they're satisfied.
Sorry, I was taking a drink there. I mean, I don't think people realize how lucky they are. There's a lot of marketing that's geared towards like, hey, whatever you do, we will do it for you and we will be successful. But that's not really the case. I think marketing really has to be I don't know, specified, I guess is a poor way of putting it, which you guys do a really good job of, where you sort of like know your target. Like, this is our target. And that way it's not too broad, like the examples you give. And I think the other thing too is speaking. There's a language in every business. There's a big language, which is accounting. We know that for all businesses, but every different business has a different language. When you're talking with, Leaders Online, and you are in the accounting space, the CPA space, you're looking for marketing, Leaders Online will speak your language. It's not like you're
Yep.
going to have to explain to them what you're looking for, which is important, because you don't want to waste your time trying to explain, well, this is what this means. This is what this means. Right.
Right. Yeah, we know your pain points and we know your clients' pain points. So there's a big shortcut if you're an accountant looking for help with marketing, coming and working with us versus other people. On the flip side, if you're not in the accounting space, probably not a good fit, and you would be doing a lot of explaining to us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
have you ever tried, Katie? Have you like cheated a little bit and tried to work with engineering firms or with plumbers or something? Because I'm sure you get outreach and requests from other professions, and has that been like actually a not a good thing for you to do, or do you turn those away?
So whenever I started, we would work with, actually, that's funny you say, like engineers, and then like other professional service providers, like law firms. And it wasn't that I didn't like them. I just now, like, the further we've gone for like creating repeat services packages, it's just so nice to stay in the same industry.
Mm,
So it's not like it's impossible, but it's just a lot, like, this is what we know, this is what we do. We know how to solve your problems, and like to stay there.
yeah.
well, it's your
That-
passion too, right? I mean, that's like sort of
Right.
where it is. So it's why escape that, and give someone your second best when you can really hone on what you're great at. And you are really great at it, Katie. So tell people, where can they find Leaders Online? What's the process?
Yeah, so you can find Leaders Online, leaders-online.com. If you want to schedule a time to chat, you can book a call there, or you can get in touch with me. I'm Katie Thomas, CPA, on all social media platforms, with LinkedIn being the one that I'm on the most. So feel free to send me a message.
What about Thread? Are you on Thread yet?
Yes, I got on it. I think I was at one of the like first. I think I have like 1 million member. They like are putting
Mhm.
counts on everyone.
I
So I
know.
got on it the day it was released. I thought it was kind of fun, but I don't find myself continuing to go back there. Are you on it?
Yeah, it's sort of a weird space right now. I like when I open it, I'm like, this feels like super slow Twitter. Or,
Yeah.
like it's like this, nothing's moving quite like I thought it would be over here.
Right. I don't know. It's kind of like one of those things where there's a new platform, there's a huge opportunity. And so if you have some time, like, why not see if it goes big and be one of those people that goes big with it? But also it's like, is it just a distraction? So I don't know. I get
Mhm.
on it some, post a little bit. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I haven't been on it yet. I heard you can't leave because it's tied to your Instagram, so you can't really leave, I guess.
You can
But
leave,
I
but
think
you
you
have to,
can. Yeah.
yeah, you have to fight Mark Zuckerberg in Rome or in the Coliseum, like Elon Musk is going to do. That's how you get off the thread. You have to win, though. You can't just fight him. So,
Yeah, we'll see. It doesn't have a ton of features yet either.
no, it doesn't. And I sort of feel like, so I had an experience where I went to a really big high school and then I transferred to a really small high school, which I love the small
Okay.
high school I transferred to, but like I feel like Twitter's the big high school. Like that's where the great white sharks are swimming right now. And then I get on
Yeah.
Thread and I'm like, oh, this is a nice kiddie pool. Like I don't have to worry about much
The
here,
safe space.
it's like picking
Exactly.
the bunny hill on
Yeah.
of text
Yeah.
social,
Yeah. It's
and
Shark Week on one, and it's like we're gonna talk about dolphins on the other one. So, well, it was really a pleasure talking with you, Katie. We're sort of going to get this wrapped up. So we know we can find you all social medias, including Thread, which Thread should probably give you a deal at this point because you're the influencer they're looking for. Um, Reconciled Live Podcast. Here we are. If you need anything from us, reconciled.com. One quick question. Katie, are you anywhere near a Taco Bell?
Yeah, I live like a mile from a Taco Bell.
Okay, Michael is he's a real, like the joke around our company. Everything is a Taco Bell joke. Are you a Taco Bell fan?
I used to go to Taco Bell some growing up. I honestly just forgot about it. So
that's
it's
how
I wouldn't say I'm a fan. It's not bad though.
she
Like,
can
Yeah,
keep her perfect skin by
I
not
know.
going to Taco Bell. Like, that's how she keeps the skin going.
And
now I might have to go later. I
Yeah,
used to get
you
a
should.
7-layer bean burrito.
Okay, well, that's what I was going to
Whoa.
ask. Okay, that's a good one. Now,
That's like all in right there.
are you
When
customizing it? Are you
Oh my
customizing it?
goodness.
Are you as is? That's what you want.
As is. They know
There's-
it's best.
I like it. Yeah, it's a good point.
Wow. I haven't gone past the basic menu, basically.
Well.
So 7 layers is like a commitment to me.
It was good.
Yes, it's a commitment. Michael's talking about a $2 burrito being a commitment. You know what? Hey, I'm sure Katie would tell you we need to get out of our comfort zone. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Stop
Yeah.
ordering tacos and your bean cheese burritos. Step up to a 7 layer. Let's make some difference in the world, Michael.
Shake it up.
Yeah,
Well, Katie, thank you
exactly.
for taking the time and doing this. It was really great.
It was
and,
a fun time. Thank you, Katie. Yeah,
definitely fun.
appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody,
Thanks
for
having
watching.
me.